The teasers dropped, the fandom, I mean, they just went completely silent. In an instant, the entire K-pop world was turned upside down. A K-pop queen just shattered a ceiling that, well, no one thought could be broken. Jennie just did what no one else could, and U.S. radio is completely shocked.
Welcome to StarScope K-Report. Join Eric and Minji as they ride the Hallyu wave, uncovering the biggest K-pop comebacks, shocking industry controversies, and major K-drama updates. From internet-breaking rumors to historic chart milestones, we dive deep into the world of Korean entertainment.
Right. And to figure out exactly how she pulled this off, we aren't just looking at, standard Billboard data and those official reports from the Korea Herald and Dong Ilbo.
Oh, definitely not.
Yeah. We're also jumping straight into a digital war zone today. We're looking at this wildly spicy Reddit thread that highlights the intense friction of two, completely different musical ecosystems colliding.
It is so messy.
It really is. So we have all the agency statements, the chart data, and the fandom meltdowns to unpack for you. And the central mission for this deep dive is clear, you guys. We are breaking down how Blackpink's Jennie basically conquered what is undeniably the hardest, most stubborn boss in the entire Western music industry. I'm talking about mainstream U.S. radio.
Yeah, the final boss.
Literally. And here's the kicker for you. She didn't do it with a traditional K-pop release. She just bypassed the standard playbook entirely and did it with a Tame Impala collaboration.
That is the crucial detail here. To understand the magnitude of this achievement, you really have to look at how this track, the Dracula remix, just defied every single conventional rule of K-pop charting.
Totally backwards.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Usually, when a Korean act hits the Billboard Hot 100, the trajectory moves, well, completely backward from what we were seeing with this song.
Let me jump in here and unpack that standard playbook, because if you follow the Hallyu wave, the global spread of Korean culture and music,
Yeah.
you know exactly how this usually works.
Right.
A major group announces a comeback, which is just the K-pop term for releasing new music. The visual teasers drop, the stands mobilize.
Oh, they definitely mobilize.
Yeah, suddenly the fandom coordinates these massive, hyper-intense purchasing and streaming campaigns to dominate the very first week of release.
Precisely. A traditional K-pop release operates a lot like a rocket launch. It burns almost all of its fuel, the fandom's mass buying and coordinated streaming, in those first 7 days just to break into the atmosphere.
Just to get that debut.
Yeah, that guarantees a massive debut on the Billboard Hot 100, but once that initial fuel is gone, gravity takes over. By week 2 or 3, the song plummets down the charts because there is no sustained general public support to keep it afloat.
Right, the rocket just falls back to earth.
Right.
This track, Dracula, the remix featuring Jennie and Tame Impala, it was not a rocket launch. It was, like a solar-powered satellite.
I love that.
It just stayed in orbit, drawing a slow, constant source of energy.
That is a perfect way to visualize it. So let's look at the timeline to see how that slow burn energy actually accumulated.
Yeah.
Kevin Parker, the mastermind producer behind Tame Impala, originally released the song Dracula as his solo track.
All right, on that album.
Yeah, it came out on his critically acclaimed album Deadbeat back in October 2025. Then, months later, on February 6, 2026, Columbia Records and Sony Music Entertainment dropped the Dracula Jennie remix.
And it was so good.
This new version seamlessly integrated her vocals and featured a completely new, just killer rap section.
And this didn't just instantly debut in the top 10 like a typical massive K-pop release, right? It had to actually build its audience week by week, which as a fan is just so incredibly rare to see.
It was a gradual, highly organic climb driven by streaming algorithms and radio adoption. According to the Nemani blog and official Billboard reporting, for the week of July 18, 2026, the track reached an astonishing number 5 on the Billboard Hot 100.
Which is huge.
But the statistic that is truly breaking the internet, that peak happened on the track's 41st week on the chart.
41st week? I mean, let that sink in. That is an insane level of retention. My jaw actually dropped when I saw that number.
Yeah, it's wild.
For anyone in the fandom, seeing a K-pop artist achieve that kind of sustained longevity on the US charts brings up so much emotion. It proves the music is reaching far beyond just the hardcore stans. And officially, this makes Jennie only the second female K-pop soloist in history to ever enter the top 5 of the Hot 100.
Yes, she joins her Blackpink bandmate Rosé, who previously shattered ceilings by hitting number 3 with her Bruno Mars collaboration, APT.
But wait, let's pause, because here's where it gets really interesting. The Hot 100 placement is amazing, but it's the radio dominance that is truly unprecedented.
Right.
In K-pop fandoms, we often talk about achieving an all-kill, which usually means a song tops every single domestic Korean streaming chart at the exact same time. But Jennie just pulled off a historic radio all-kill in the United States.
A literal fortress.
Yes. U.S. radio has historically been this heavily guarded fortress that K-pop just could not breach.
And the breakdown from Soompi, the Korea Herald, and the Dong A Ilbo highlights exactly how heavily guarded that fortress is and how thoroughly she dismantled it.
Yeah.
Dracula hit #2 on Billboard's radio songs chart, which measures total weekly plays across all U.S. stations.
Wow.
It also hit #1 on the Pop Airplay chart, which specifically tracks mainstream top 40 radio, and it maintained that #1 spot for 4 consecutive weeks.
4 straight weeks at #1 on American Top 40 radio. I mean, you have to understand, for a K-pop soloist, that is practically unheard of. Usually, radio programmers are terrified of playing K-pop because they fear their general audience will just change the station.
That fear is exactly why the next metric is the most shocking of all. The track hit #1 on the adult pop airplay chart.
Wait, adult pop? Seriously?
Seriously. To give you some context from Forbes, K-pop has historically struggled immensely to gain traction on adult pop airplay. This specific format caters to an older, more passive demographic.
Right, they aren't on TikTok.
Exactly. They aren't on TikTok following trends, and they certainly aren't participating in fandom streaming campaigns. In fact, Dracula is only the second K-pop-related track in history to ever top this specific chart.
Wait, if Jennie is only the second to ever do this, who on earth was the first? Was it BTS? Was it Blackpink as a full group?
Interestingly, no. The first was a song called Golden by EJ, Rayami, and Audrey Nuna.
Oh, right.
Yeah, it was the theme song for the Netflix animated film K-pop Demon Hunters, and it hit #1 back in January. So Jennie is the second K-pop-related artist to ever achieve this milestone.
So what does this all mean for you listening right now? Why should you care about adult pop airplay? It means the underlying mechanism, like the actual engine powering the song, was completely different from the norm. It wasn't fueled by a coordinated mass buying campaign on iTunes.
Not at all.
The mechanism was short-form TikTok virality that organically forced the hand of mainstream radio programmers.
Exactly. As the Narimon blog points out, the Billboard Hot 100 uses Luminate data to blend 3 things: streaming numbers, radio airplay impressions, and physical or digital sales.
Right.
A slow, mixed-source build like this signals genuine crossover reach. According to Yonhap News, in just one single tracking week back in May 2026, the track pulled in 12.1 million U.S. streams and an absolutely massive 23.1 million radio audience impressions.
23.1 million passive listeners driving in their cars, hearing a K-pop queen on their local station. That is undeniable impact. But was this massive historic crossover celebrated by everyone? Let me tell you, it absolutely was not. And that's not even the wildest part of this comeback. Wait till you hear the absolute war zone unfolding on Reddit right now. You won't believe what the indie fans are saying.
But before we get into that drama, if you love staying updated on your favorites and decoding the charts with us, make sure you subscribe to StarScope K Report. We've got even bigger scoops ahead.
Okay, so this massive wave of mainstream radio success didn't just happen in a vacuum. When you bypass the traditional gatekeepers and force 2 completely different musical worlds to collide, I'm talking K-pop and psychedelic indie rock, you don't just get chart records.
You get friction.
You get friction. And right now, that friction is entirely burning down the Tame Impala Reddit community. We are looking at a full-blown fandom civil war. The overarching debate, is this crossover genius or is it corporate slop?
It is a fascinating psychological study of 2 musical ecosystems colliding. On one side, you have the K-pop stans, who view chart success as a scoreboard of love and support for their favorite artist.
Yeah, totally.
But on the other side, you have hardcore indie rock purists, who often view massive mainstream chart success with deep suspicion.
And the resulting clash is getting so petty. If you go to the YouTube comments for the official lyric video, it is a wall of positivity. It is heavily driven by teenagers hyping up their bias, which, if you're new to the genre, is just the fandom term for your absolute favorite member of a group. But the indie fans on Reddit are actively rejecting that positivity. One Reddit user completely dismissed the YouTube crowd, writing that the commenters are mostly Jennie's fans, so you will only see glazing of her, and that they are too biased and will eat anything they are given.
The pushback on Reddit is genuinely brutal. Now, we are impartially reporting this. We aren't taking sides in this fandom war. But the sheer volume of frustration from the Tame Impala community is impossible to ignore. The most common repetitive phrase being thrown around in the thread is corporate slop.
Yes. Let's read some of these direct quotes to give you a sense of the temperature in that subreddit. The original poster of the thread complained, "I feel like it sounds kind of Kidz Bop."
Oh, wow.
I know, right? Another user wrote, "It's so corporate and uninspired, I hate it." One person called it a lazy remix and said they desperately wish the two artists had created an entirely new song together instead of rehashing an old one.
What you're seeing is a very specific sellout narrative taking shape. Some users pointed out that this remix only further reinforces the existing narrative among indie fans that Kevin Parker has abandoned his underground roots.
That's crazy.
Another user went so far as to blame Zane Lowe, the prominent music broadcaster. They spun a theory that this was a calculated corporate maneuver simply because Lowe is known to like both K-pop and Tame Impala, calling the track a cheap way to put out again to make money.
People are so mad about this collaboration that they are literally altering their music apps to avoid it. One user proudly declared to the thread, "I blocked it on Spotify," which immediately blew the minds of other users who replied saying they didn't even know you could block individual songs on the platform.
But if we zoom out and connect this to the bigger picture, it highlights a deep irony.
Oh, for sure.
The original solo version of Dracula peaked at number 25 on the Hot 100. This remix with Jennie propelled it all the way to number 5. According to Stereogum, this makes it the highest charting song Kevin Parker has ever worked on in his entire career, completely surpassing his work on Dua Lipa's Houdini, which peaked at number 11.
Right. And this is where I have to step in and push back on the indie bros a little bit. Why is it that whenever a K-pop star leverages their massive global influence to help an indie artist get their highest charting Billboard hit ever, the hardcore fans immediately scream, "Sell out," instead of celebrating?
It's a great question.
Kevin Parker just secured a top 5 Billboard hit. That is a monumental career achievement. But instead of popping champagne, his fans are on Reddit furiously nitpicking the lyric changes.
The lyric change. That specific edit really struck a nerve with the original fans, didn't it?
It is honestly so funny to me. So in the original song, Kevin sings the line, "My friends are saying, 'Shut up, Kevin, just get in the car.'" In the remix, Jennie completely rewrites the lyric to insert herself. She's saying, "Shut up, Jennie, just get in the car."
And one user wrote a highly detailed, deeply frustrated critique of this exact moment, calling it the most self-obsessed, narcissistic line of the whole song.
Are you kidding me?
No, their argument was that nobody actually said that to her in real life. They claimed she just narcissistically swapped Kevin's name for her own, and that it completely shatters the emotional immersion for anyone who spent months listening to the original.
I mean, it's a remix. The whole mechanical point of a pop remix is injecting your own persona and putting your own unique spin on the track. Another user was actually furious that she, quote, "stole one of Kevin's coolest lines." It is just wild to watch how intensely defensive the indie fans get when the Hallyu wave finally crashes onto their shores.
It raises an important question about the psychology of gatekeeping in music. When an underground or indie artist crosses over into massive mainstream pop success, the original fan base often experiences a profound sense of loss.
Yeah, that makes sense.
The artist's music used to be their secret club, a core part of their niche identity. When millions of K-pop fans suddenly join that club, the original fans feel displaced, even if the artist themselves is achieving historic, life-changing milestones.
That makes a lot of sense. It's an identity crisis disguised as a music critique. Now, later in the deep dive, we'll talk about a massive chart error that had the entire internet confused and how Jennie's solo CEO era is literally rewriting the K-pop rulebook.
Right, because before we get to her business empire, we need to clear up some major misinformation that has been spreading like wildfire across the internet regarding this exact Billboard achievement.
Yes, it is time to set the record straight, because if you were casually scrolling through secondary news summaries or following certain fan update accounts on Twitter, you might have seen an entirely different song being credited for this number 5 Billboard peak.
What's fascinating here is the sheer velocity at which bad data can spread in a highly active fandom. Several summaries and posts falsely reported that a track called "Like Jennie" is the song that hit number 5.
Which is just not true.
No, we need to be absolutely factually clear.
Yeah.
That is incorrect. Official Billboard pages, Billboard Canada, and the official charts company have all confirmed that the number 5 track is definitively Dracula by Tame Impala and Jennie.
So as a fan looking at this, you have to wonder, where did the title, like, Jennie even come from? Did someone just invent it out of thin air?
No, it is a real song, which is likely why the algorithm or the fan accounts got confused. Like, Jennie was a separate solo track that she released back in 2025.
Oh, right.
It actually did chart on the Hot 100 on its own merit, but it peaked at number 83, not number 5. The widespread mislabeling online should be treated strictly as a data error amplified by the fandom echo chamber.
It is so incredibly easy for the wrong track name to just become accepted truth when thousands of accounts are retweeting it every second. But honestly, looking at, like, Jennie peaking at 83 actually leads us perfectly into the much bigger picture here.
It really does.
Because to truly understand why Jennie even has the leverage to hop on a Tame Impala track, completely bypass the usual gatekeepers, and dominate U.S. radio, we have to talk about her independence. We have to talk about the sheer gravity of the odd Atelier era.
This is the crucial context that makes the radio success possible. In March 2025, Jennie released her debut solo studio album, Ruby. And the defining characteristic of this release, she did not release it through YG Entertainment.
Yep.
She left the massive corporate machine that launched Blackpink.
Exactly. She released it through Atelier, the independent label she founded and entirely controls herself, in partnership with Columbia Records. She completely stepped away from the traditional K-pop agency machinery.
A huge risk.
A massive risk. She took on highly hands-on production roles alongside major Western hitmakers, and she basically used that album to prove she is a global economic titan entirely on her own terms.
If you want to understand why U.S. radio programmers and a major label like Columbia Records would invest heavily in pushing a Tame Impala remix, you just have to look at the commercial performance of the Ruby album. It was staggering.
Pure staggering.
According to Wikipedia and official chart records, Ruby sold more than 1 million copies worldwide. It debuted in the top 10 in 19 different countries.
And the regional milestones she hit with that album are just incredible. In the UK, it debuted at number 3 on the UK albums chart. That is a notoriously difficult chart to crack, and that placement made it the highest charting album by a female K-pop soloist in history.
Right, tying Jungkook's Golden for the highest charted album by any K-pop solo artist in the UK.
And the domestic numbers were equally dominant. In South Korea, it sold over 660,000 copies in its first week alone on the Hanteo chart, which tracks real-time physical sales.
Which is massive.
Yeah, making it the highest first-week sales for a female K-pop solo artist in 2025. The Korea Music Content Association eventually certified it triple platinum for surpassing 750,000 copies sold. Hit that subscribe button so you never miss a KT update, because the Hallyu wave moves fast and we want you riding it with us.
So when you look at those massive numbers for Ruby, what you have to realize is that Dracula isn't just some lucky remix that caught a good wave on TikTok. It is the culmination of Jennie building her own autonomous empire.
Yes.
She established her solo brand as a CEO with Ruby, proved she could move over 1 million physical units and dominate global streaming without a legacy agency behind her, and then she parachuted into the U.S. radio ecosystem with Kevin Parker and conquered the top 40.
It truly is a masterclass in strategic cross-pollination. She brought her massive, hyper-dedicated global fandom to Tame Impala, generating the initial viral spark. In return, Tame Impala provided the alternative indie pop credibility that mainstream U.S. adult pop radio programmers require to feel comfortable putting a song on heavy rotation.
It essentially short-circuited the usual industry gatekeepers entirely.
Which leaves us with a really provocative thought for you to ponder as we wrap up today. Look at how this slow-burn, cross-genre collaboration absolutely dominated mainstream radio without relying on the typical front-loaded fandom mass-buying campaign.
Right.
Could this signal the death of the traditional one-week sales spike K-pop comeback? Are we about to see Korean agencies completely abandon the old playbook of rushing iTunes sales and instead try to chase this Tame Impala radio magic?
It certainly raises an important question about the future of global music strategy. If the ultimate goal for these artists is sustained cultural impact and true general public recognition, rather than just a fleeting one-week chart debut, this slow-burn crossover strategy might just become the industry's new gold standard.
You've been listening to StarScope K-Report, where Eric and Minji bring you the stories shaping K-pop, K-dramas, and the global Hallyu wave. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that keep the stars shining.